Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We have one more presentation before we invite our presenters for discussion. Professor Simiat Elias. I think she was here before, so most of you know her, from Aga Khan University, Kenya. She's the co-chair of the board of the General Assembly, AAPS, and she's going to speak about incorporating active learning into the teaching of physiology. So Professor will continue for as little time as possible, and then we'll go to the discussion. Thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you. My name is Simiat, Elias, and originally from Nigeria. Today I'm speaking to you as the founding chair of Medical Sciences of the Aga Khan University. We just started the undergraduate medical program. Our first cohort of students came in September. At the same time, we started the Bachelor of Nursing Science program, undergraduate, for the first time direct entry, and they also came in September. I started teaching them on the 18th of September, and this presentation will let you see what we've done so far with that. Before we start, I'd like for us all to please stand up, kindly. Let's stand up. If you can stretch. If you don't want to stretch, feel like you want to stretch, but if you don't want to stretch, just collect your thoughts for 30 seconds. I want to stretch. So now let's collect our thoughts. And then I'm going to ask you to think on your way here, on your way to Tanzania, not to this venue, on your way to Tanzania from wherever you started off. What was the most interesting thing that happened to you? And I'm just going to take 3 responses. What was the most interesting thing that happened to you on your way to Tanzania? Just.
I'm from Tanzania.
Oh!
I was sick on board the plane.
Yes. Oh, so sorry. Pole was sick? Swahili? Oh, okay. That's somebody else not from Tanzania. That's the second person. Most interesting thing.
Thank you. My name is Peter from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. And then I was planned to come at November 28, but I missed the flight by 16 and then coming the next day.
Okay, Paul, sorry. From Kenya.
The most important thing is to see from up there this wonderful landscape.
Yeah. Wow. Let's talk for ourselves. Sit down. Thank you. Thank you. Please sit down. So, I'm going to be talking about incorporating active learning into physiology. And while I'm waiting for my slides, what we just went through is actually one of the things that we do in active learning. You want to engage your learners from the beginning, so you do a bridge in. Now we are all, I hope, interested in listening to what I have to say about active learning, even before the slides do come up. Again, I'm thankful to the Aga Khan University because one of the things that is a bedrock of teaching there is active learning. When student-centered learning environment. Our teaching, our training is all about our students. And so what I've learned over the years from the Physiological Society, TPS, from the American Physiological Society, APS, and from the Physiological Society of Nigeria by being a member of the education. That way, they engage with the material and they get better. Okay? Now, Benjamin Franklin had said it all those years ago, when he said, "Tell me and I forget." So I stand in front of a class and I rattle, it goes in here, it comes out here. Yeah. Teach me and I remember. So you teach me, you put me on the mic, and then you involve me, I never forget. That's what active learning is all about, and we can do it with the teaching of physiology. Now, there are many processes that you can use with active learning. Talking and listening. So when you talk and the students listen, you have to take it further. You have to ask them questions, ask them to relate what they've had with previous knowledge, to analyze what they've just heard, ask them to discuss amongst one another. That way, you're converting your class into an active learning room. And then you don't talk forever. Try and include them. Make it interactive. Ask questions. Let them do some activities as you go on with the class. With writing, because students are sitting down there wanting to write, they're writing. But what are they writing? What are they writing? So you come in with some activities again. This will help them to organize their thoughts and to put together, add what they just hearing from you to what they heard before, and then learning will occur. So it cannot be learning, it can never be passive. It can never be passive. It must always be active. When you ask students to read, which of course they have to do, at the end of that reading, how do you gauge their understanding? So don't just assume that they read something. If you send them materials to read, videos to watch, and the lessons that you have pre-recorded, ask them quizzes. Ask them to summarize what they've learned. Give them opportunity to post what they've learned, maybe on the wall or the class, not physical wall, but sometimes you could also use physical wall, that's all you have. Okay? On the VLE, virtual learning environment, they have walls, they let them post what they have. So that way, you will gauge their learning. And they also know that you'll be asking them, so they will interact and interact positively. I'm saying this because it's also possible for students. We had discussed that you want to know how many minutes a student spent with your material online. And so you, this candidate was there for 15 minutes, this one was there for 1 hour. What were they doing? They could have put on the system and actually go to watch a movie. Yes. So, but if you ask questions and they know your recognition, big word, but means very little. It's an ability for you to dig in to your thinking process and actually be able to say, what do I know? What am I thinking about this word? And other. So that ability to question yourself, to dig into your thinking process is referred to as metacognition. So you can be thinking, what is the assignment meant to achieve? This reminds me of, because new knowledge, the only way you can get new knowledge is by relating it to what you learned previously. One of our presenters was telling us about eating scorpion yesterday. Scorpion, somebody? Yes. And then he realized that it actually tasted like something he had eaten a long time ago. So now he's not thinking it is scorpion, but it is that thing. He's able to relate. So you need to join one information to the other for learning to occur. So metacognition, I'm figuring out. So sometimes you give assignments to students, you ask them to start their reflection by, what did you get from that presentation? I am wondering, I am surprised that they should start like that. And that way, they can actually realize, what did I learn? What is new? Why am I surprised? And things like that. So these are traditional classroom settings, and I hope some people can still remember. So, in order to be able to ensure that our students are learning actively, you prepare prepare the mind of the students. You let them know this is what we're going to be doing. I'm not just going to be at the center filling your empty vessels with information. That way, a pre-work autonomic nervous system, and then they pay to class and you are teaching reproduction. All right? So you need to be able to ensure that the pre-class information and what you're doing in class, the tally. Now you encourage the students to participate, and they will do this if they feel that they're in a safe environment. You're not making remarks that will make them feel that, oh, I am foolish. Next time, they will not open their mouths. So we need to find ways of encouraging them to participate. So again, what we did earlier on, when I was asking you questions, those were individual activities, right? So the many individual activities that you could do, 1 minute paper, this you can do at the beginning of the class, or you can do at the end of the class. At the beginning of the class, to assess what they know. At the end of the class, to find out how they've grown from when they entered the classroom. Reflective journals, quizzes, and some presentation response. Like I mentioned earlier, ask them to start their response by saying, oh, I was surprised that. So they need to find, were they surprised by anything that group said? I learned that. I still wonder about. So if they have any gaps, then you would learn those gaps and you can, bridge the gap for them. So now, I would like for you to please turn to the person next to you, turn left and left one, and discuss, agree on one thing that you took home with you from this meeting yesterday. Just one thing, just agree on one thing. I'm not seeing anybody turning. What was the stage code? Okay, let me give you a session. Let me give you a session of this. We had a session on the taste of fat. We had a session on the taste of fat. What did you take home from Friday? So I tell them what I do with them is weakest link. And I've been doing that for like 10, 15 years. What I call weakest link. The member of the group who scores the least in presenting will determine the score of the entire group. So, if you are 8, I will call anybody in no particular order to present. And as you are going on, I will stop you and the next person will take over from you. And whoever presents and scores the least mark will determine the mark of the group. Guess what? They make sure everybody in the group has a good grasp of what they're going to present. And it has helped over the years. And it's helped this group as well. Yeah. So, that's your job. Go around the room, find out where they need help and you help them along. things they do also is to make concept notes. It's an active learning thing. This, would you believe they made this on the first day? That was on the 18th of September. Okay? Because they were learning and they had given them the materials and the class were discussed and that sit down and now tell me as a group what you know, what you understand about these organisms. I just put 3 of the 8 groups there. Then, here, oh, okay, I was giving it to me. This was supposed to play, it's not playing. It's supposed to play and it's a child trying to fix here. Thank you. So this jigsaw puzzle, what we do with this, you give a question to the groups, a different question to one group, to the next, and all. When they're done, then you give them 20 minutes to do the work. You then ask only maybe one person in that group to remain. The remaining 7 will go to the other groups, and those other ones will come fill. So you have a mix from the different groups in the different groups. And then the person that has remained on that table now tells them what that group was all about. If their work was about simple diffusion or facility, whatever it was, he will now teach them, the new group members, what they have learned. And that helped. So I'll go forward, stand now. So in this cohort of students that came into the class, all the learning is flipped. You give them the work materials at home, they read, they watch the videos, they do whatever, and then they come to class and we do the quizzes, case-based learning, all sorts of activities, group presentations, and all that we did for 6 weeks. After 6 weeks, we had announced they had the schedule ahead. They now had to do their first assessment. Okay? The first assessment was a 1-hour multiple response question style comprising 40 stamps, and each with 5 options, so they had to answer true or false. But there was no negative marking because they had a pan. University principle is that we do not do negative marking. So the students did that test, and guess what? Before I show you this, they came out of the test, and there was a review by the School of Nursing, and Simiat is so harsh. Simiat does not allow us to relax in the classroom. Simiat is so demanding. Okay, so the associate dean calls me and tells me this is what they're saying about you, but I think it's this, it's that, so we resolved it and we went our way. Then the results came out, and this is a cut-off mark, that's a pass mark for School of Nursing, 60%. That's where they all are, or they all went. Now we look at the groups. Some of the groups are almost homogeneous in their scores, saying that they were really working well together. Yes? Yeah. This group had the highest and the lowest. Unfortunately, this student was not supposed to score this mark. She was one of the most brilliant in the class. So I had to call all of them who were below 60 and I engaged with them. What happened? Oh, she said she was poorly, she didn't know what she was eating, she needed to go to the washroom, and she was afraid to ask permission because it was a 1-hour paper, and all she could think of, I want to go to the washroom, I want to go to the washroom. So at the end of the day, she had the lowest mark, just shy of 50%, and now she has to work her way back up. Okay? And again, it's the same result set, and you can see the ranges and the means. So after this, they were initially reluctant to participate. They felt it was too harsh, I was this or that. Now, they're so happy in class. In fact, I see them them smiling, or if I set any question, any task, they're so happily doing it. And the most interesting was when they had their white coat ceremony that the School of Nursing organized to welcome them. That was about 3 weeks ago. I had attended and then I left the room, went back to my duties. And I started getting calls. Professor Simiat, where are you? Professor Simiat, where are you? I'm in my office where I should be. I said, no, the students want you. They're shouting, they're saying they're not going to leave the podium until I come take a picture of them. Oh, Professor Simiat is harsh. She's too demanding. So now they understand, they appreciate this active learning, which actually I'm not the only one doing it, or I'm not the only one supposed to be doing it. This is an Agacan policy, which we're following, and now they are so happy, and I think that their test scores may have actually helped along, to bring them along. So please, some of us would say that we have 300 students, we have 150 students, there's always something that we can apply to help the students learn in an active manner, so that you move from the center of the stage and you are side there as a facilitator of learning. Okay, they are not empty vessels that we need to fill. They do have some information, and we can help them further by always giving them something to learn about what we want to discuss in the classroom before they do come to your class. And because you said that significant learning occurs when the learners are actively participating and they're going beyond rote learning to higher order thinking. Of course, in the abstract, I mentioned that the assessments are different for this kind of learning, and we hope that we'll have time at some other point to talk about the assessments. So, this activity is for all of you, Profs and everybody. Always give a post-class activity. So they come into your class thinking about the pre-class activity, they participate in class, and they're going away reflecting about what you have asked them to do outside of the class. All right? So at all times, the students are engaged with learning. Even when they're sitting down, we're going to another, because self-directed learning, there's always something for them to do. All right, Asante Sana. Agacan University, where I now am. Asante.
Thank you so much. Now we have had those three presentations. I'd like to call them here. Professor Namis, Professor Outreach, and Professor Simiat. We can now have some discussion, question for those three presentations. While they're sitting, I will start. I will welcome questions, comments.
Yes, okay. Thank you very much for the communications. I well appreciate the last communication of Simiat as to concern all of us, and very, very well appreciate it. That is a good method to teach or to involve, because now we don't need to inform or to teach or to involve students in the learning now. That is a very good method. Maybe we can share the presentation as we can distribute or disseminate the method in our university also. Good method. Active learning in physiology, not only for physiology, but for all disciplines that we teach or we teach in the university or in small class also. But my question is for the big group. In our university, you have in the first class, you have over, in my university we have over 1,000 students in the same class. How do we, now we divide into, if you have over 1,000, we divide the university, divide into maybe 3 groups, 2 or 3 groups. So you have almost 300 or 400 students. How can you apply? Do you have any idea to share with us? That is my question. Thank you.
Thank you. We are taking question, comments. Yes.
For example, any variation depending on the two modalities that one of them may be predisposed to, or vice versa. For example, autoimmune condition to the gut, etc. That may maybe disadvantage an unit for the life.
Thank you. My name is Professor Sama, Professor of Dodoma, and my question mostly goes to Professor Lamis. You mentioned about the gut bone marrow axis, and one of the ways the mediators is short chain fatty acids, which I assume maybe they are mostly metabolized from the oligosaccharides. So my question is there a potential maybe using maybe drugs that activate the fatty acid oxidation? Because we know that would that be a potential therapeutic option maybe? And another one is what's so special about the gut microbiota? Why not maybe the urinary microbiota? Or do they have any effect also on the gut, the bone marrow axis and digest? Yes. Like the question is, what's so special about the gut microbiota? Why not about the microbiota? Or is there any role of the microbiota from other areas? Let's say the genitourinary would also have the same effect on the bone marrow axis. And how about also the infectious microbiota as well? Because one of the mechanisms is through the LCS, which could also be found in infectious bacteria, like the Staph aureus, for instance. And another one is for Professor Yuri. I'm just interested on could the natural vasodilators like nitrogen dioxide as well as the vasoconstrictors such as endothelin-1, do they also have the effect on those gap junctions we're talking about, or their mechanism is a bit different from that? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Shubi from the University of Dodoma as well. And my question goes to Professor Ulrich. Yeah, I'm wondering about this conductive vasodilatation, because ultimately the circulatory system is one giant network. So can you say something about the reach of this conduction of signal? So is there some mechanism for demarcation?
Let me ask them to answer this first, and then we'll take another set of questions.
Thank you for your very generous comments, Mr. Kadi. In a large class, I mean, you described 300, some 400, there are different methods that can be used. Of course, you will have to divide them into groups, because they will not be able to do video presentations, okay? They are doing presentations, so you have to divide them into groups. And then what will also help is if you have maybe teaching assistants or other colleagues who can also come into the room with you, okay? So, and there you would also have taught what you expect the students to know, and they will help you keep the students on task by going around the room as a way, they're also going back. So, there is always a way when there is a way. I've heard this comment a lot of times that, oh, we have large classes in Africa, how we get to cope, and all this. There is always something that you can do. First, you give the work in groups, you get colleagues to assist you, as you will also be assisting them. Okay, and if there are no colleagues and you use your tutorial assistants were available, and know again, there's some universities that do not have tutorial fellows, but there will always be somebody who can share the room with you. And if there is not, then you make to divide them into maybe groups of 20, groups of 8, because 8 will not work for you. You have groups of 20 and then you go around. And you divide the time amongst all of them. As long as you set them the work to do, and they know that yes, they are learning, and you create a safe environment for them to make their mistakes and ask questions that you know, prompt feedback. Okay, as you go from one group to the other and then asking the question, you are also giving them the feedback. All right, and do not turn the classroom into another teaching time. So they ask you questions, if there's something that really genuinely you know they will not be able to answer, you answer. But the ones that, oh, from what the task I've set you, you should have come across in response to this. Why don't you look again? So that empowers them, that makes them want to actually work harder and find the answer. And when they do, they own that information. Because when you tell them most of the time, you know, students will stand up and say, you said, and I'll tell them, no, it's not about what I said, it's about what you know or what you understand, or what is your question. So do not get into that rut of actually now teaching them all over again. Now is to clarify issues for them and make sure they have a better understanding. Okay? I hope that helps.
Yes. Sorry for this question. Because about your experience, what about the time? Because me, I guess that we need more time to do to you to apply this method. I don't know. You can answer about your experience. Do we need more time or less time when you compare the both methods? And this, it means that we need colleagues, assistants. So that is very wonderful problem in our university. So you need time, you have to, because after they do the work group, you have to verify to know if the answer are right or not. So you need time to do all this. That is the problem.
Secondly, teaching using active learning techniques require more of the facilitator, of the faculty. So you need to have, you need more time to give them outside of the class, and also give them what you do not have to mark each script. You do not have to read each script. They can't do that for you. And then you moderate what you expected them to have given you in response at the end of the class.
And
yes.
At the end, you give them the answer.
If necessary.
The right answer.
If necessary.
Thank you. You asked what affects the gut microbiota in neonates. Till now, they are speaking about the mode of delivery, as I told you, because the neonates get the microbiota from his mouth. The time of feeding, because that microbiota is fed on high fiber on diet, on fibers. So the mother have oligosaccharides. Now have been recently added to the milk formulas, but breastfeeding will ensure more diverse and abundance of healthy microbiota. Other thing, extreme hygiene. Now all our kids never play on the floor, never play in sands at all. And if we did so, we'll be as a very bad mom. But our kids, they need to be there. So, not all the time, but they have to. Actually, they found that even helminthids have their own initiation of moderation of microbiota and regulation of innate and adaptive immunity. Now it's almost missing. And as I said, they found that in high-income Western countries, the incidence of food allergies and autoimmune like for example, asthma and so on, food allergies is very common, compared like in Africa. I don't think you ever see allergy in Sudan. I never see. We eat it every day. So this is one thing like that. That's the hygiene, the environment, breastfeeding, and the military. And this is why now people should think twice of having a cesarean section unless there is strong indication of it. Is it satisfying? You ask about short-chain fatty acids. Short-chain fatty acid it's amazing. Do everything. It's strong anti-inflammatory, it's immunomodulated, it works almost in every disease. But the problem is that, as I said, during the presentation, they have very short half-life because they are short-chain fatty acids. In a trial was done to give them as fetal-inducing agents, sickle cell anemia. They give like 40 tabs, or you have to give them IV infusions. It's difficult to get pharmacologic substance. This is why we can think that prebiotic or probiotic that are capable of increasing, actually this is the definition of prebiotic agents, that it selectively enrich a community of microbiota to increase the level of short fatty acid in the serum. Probiotic, as I said, they are getting ready-made bacteria. So this is. And
my question was, is it possible if we could activate the fatty acid oxidation to have more short-chain fatty acids? I understand the root of prebiotics, but what if there's a way to activate fatty acid oxidation so that the long
hematopoiesis and erythropoiesis, how they can work as anti-inflammatory endogenous.
How about the microbiota from other areas, or the infected ones?
What?
Let's say LPS from Staph aureus.
Yeah.
Would we also have this?
Yes, I said that we can't start emptiness. So if we reduce the number of commensals at least, commensals are neutralizing, they will be occupied by pathogenic bacteria. This is what people are thinking, and this explains why almost many of antibiotics will end up with diarrhea, because they're post-antibiotic diarrhea. This is because now we have a disturbance in the community of microbiota.
So I will start with the question back there. This conductive dilation, the range is between 1 and several millimeters. This seems to be enough for these perfusion units. And the length is not really predictable because it depends on the electrical resistance of the gap junctions, which can be regulated. Higher resistance means lower distance. And also on the membrane resistance. If you use more electric current underway, the response will fade out earlier. So that is what I would say is the range is enough to be more to serve the purposes of this perfusion units. The larger vessels, the small arteries, for example, or the feeding arteries, which supply these arterioles, they probably dilate mainly by another dilation, and this is the shear stress-induced dilation. Whenever you have an increase in blood flow in an area, you have an increase in shear stress, and the endothelium responds to this increase in shear stress by producing more nitric oxide. And the larger vessels are anyway more nitric oxide dependent, and the small arterioles are more endothelium-dependent hyperpolarization vessels. Yeah? I hope this answers your question. And coming back to your question, that is a very good question, and you were very observant. So, first of all, the transmission to smooth muscle can happen in several ways. Since your endothelial cell is hyperpolarizing, you can directly transfer hyperpolarization to the smooth muscle. It depends how much the sink is, how big the sink is, whether it can induce very much or not. But the endothelial, the smooth muscle cells are not that well coupled, so you're not losing too much current to the branch. Then this hyperpolarization also activates these immunorectifying potassium channels. And that means potassium is released and you do not necessarily need calcium. And the calcium that comes down to the myoendothelial junction is a potential problem, because if the calcium goes to smooth muscle, then it contracts, whereas the endothelium wants to dilate.
That's what
And the answer is, this calcium from the endothelium can hardly reach the smooth muscle, because, for example, in connexin 13-7 gap junctions, nitric oxide blocks the permeability for calcium from the endothelium down to smooth muscle. The other way around does really exist. If smooth muscle cells have a lot of calcium to contract, some of the calcium goes up to the endothelium, induces hyperpolarization, and stops further contraction. So it seems a little bit a one-way street, although one cannot be sure under all experimental conditions. Yeah? Does this answer your question? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I missed the questions. Someone asked me a question I didn't answer. Because I found myself writing alone.
Just so many people have questions.
One, you have spoken already. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yes, 4 people. You see 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yes.
That is the back come forward.
There.
You may be given your
you have spoken so many times.
You may be given 0.5 minutes.
0 minutes.
In that way now, the weakest link is being pulled up while the very highest one. You come to a middle and I'll use the example you gave about the nursing students. You notice that majority of them, from what I saw, more than 89% pass. But then somebody scored very low, and it was not even because the person was not intelligent, but it was always going to watch my other. That's how they call it that. So if that class is considered as a group, does it now mean that a class that more than 90%, but if we get the score of the weakest link, it will make the whole class fail. So I think an average to, will be better, the score for that group. Even though if somebody is weak, the score for that weakest link, if he was easy, I'm sure you also consider how the others presented before you do that. So that's another work happening. I think, thank you. That's my contribution.
In the interest of time, my question is to Professor Simiat and Ulrich. I think it's a follow-up on this teaching gentlemen. We have very big groups like colleagues have said, and one of the challenges I find is the attitudes of the new generation. They are very casual about learning. And sometimes even when you give assignments and you tell them to make use of resources like the library journals and so on, you find there is a lot of reluctance. Now, for some of us, and I'll give my example.
There was never a time that the group scored less than 7 because they carried one another along. But if they knew that it was going to be an average, why should I bother? Okay, somebody's going to get 10 anyway, and somebody will get 4, and then why not high, and then we'll get 5, and we all happy. So I think that when I introduce, and it's not the first time I'm doing it, I was doing it in Nigeria, and my students actually learned, they appreciated it. Okay, so if we just try it, just the fact that you told them, the fact that you tell them that whoever gets the weakest, least score, who's going to represent the group, you will see the way they will change in attending to the question. Yes. And then the assessments that we did, that's individual, that's MCQ, multiple response question. So if somebody took ill, we'll not get an award the mark of somebody else to that person. All right, so that was individual, and there will always be individual examinations. About attitude, yes, I noticed that when I got to Nairobi. when the students gave me that feedback, the review that they gave to the School of Nursing about me, one of the things that the Associate Dean appreciated was the difference in culture. In Nigeria, our medical students, School of Nursing students, anybody in the College of Medicine are very serious. They may be playful, they may want to not listen, but because there are rules, at least where I worked, Lagos State University, there are rules of engagement. They know that when they come to school, it is serious work in the College of Medicine. It's different from other schools. Now, what I did with the students, just to buttress the fact about attitude, when I first met them, I said, oh yeah, this is it. So we had a flip chart on the wall, and I said, now we're going to agree on the rule of engagement. Okay? So they made the rules. We all agreed. What do you think we should do in this classroom? We say, oh, we must respect one another, put it on the wall. Oh, no phones should be beeping, put it on the wall. Oh, this. So we had 12 rules on the wall. And we would guide ourselves, our engagement with that. So that was my number one problem with them. They said, oh, she gave us rules. I didn't give them the rules. They set the rules. Okay? The other thing about the fact that we want to use gadgets. Fortunately now at Japan, the policy is bring the gadgets into the room. And if you saw some of the slides I showed you, they actually had their laptops in front of them. So you set them tasks that will enable them to use their gadgets. That way, you retain their attention. But if you say, shut your laptop, no phones, no this or that, then you will lose them immediately. Okay? So it now depends on them. They now have to own their own learning. They have to know that when I'm in class, I'm not going to be on TikTok, I'm not going to be on whatever else they're on. I need to use this gadget to do my work. So they allow their gadgets. Nobody's going to say shut your gadgets. And once you do that, they're happy. So, but the attitude of not wanting to learn, you have to find a way. And one of the things, as I was saying before I got to read by myself, was that the lady told me, the associate told me that, I don't know how far it's true, but she's in Kenya, and she said, oh, these are students who have grown with no rules. That in Kenya, you cannot say, stop doing that, sit down there, stand up there, they can take you to court. Yes, that was what I was told. But I said, I'm training medical students, I'm training School of Nursing students, and we made the rules together. Guess what? Today, they use those rules in engaging with the other faculty of their own volition, because now they're used to it. Okay? When you have your gadget, use it for classwork. But if you do go on using it to talk to somebody, it's on your own, that's your own decision. They're adults. I can't go check in, are you on TikTok? No, that's not my job. My job is I set you what to do, you all do it, and you bring it to report when we ask you to report. So about large student size, student number, yes, we all deal with this one way or the other. Although again, I think I was lucky I've had the most I've ever had in training medical students is 1 out of 10 in my class. So I feel for you if you've got 300 or 500, but active learning actually helps you at the end of the day. It is not about what they score in the exam only, it's about understanding of the concepts that you're teaching them. And if you use this, if you set them tasks, okay, as groups, they will learn from one another. Eventually they'll make your work easier. And they will come out better. Yes, at some point you have to stand and tell them, explain some mechanisms to them. At some point you have to give them life experiences, all well and good. But what we're saying is, let us stop treating our students as if they're empty vessels. And you know what, I'm sure, when you finish your 3-hour lecture, whatever number of hours you do, and you ask them any question, what do they say? No question. Yes. Do you all understand? Yes, we do. But in active learning, that cannot happen because you are actively asking questions. You are engaging them. You're stopping your lecture and discussing things with them. And they're giving you feedback. So there is no way they will not learn in this kind of manner. I think we should try it. Like I said, I've been learning about this many years, this silver thing. Many of the great professors in physiology have been talking about it, and I have been trying to do a little bit of it in Lagos State University. But here at Agakan, it's expected of us. So the museum was asking, that is anatomy doing the same thing, is biochemistry doing the same thing? Yes, because we're actually trained. You have to have some training before you're exposed to the students. And it is expected that you do that. If you do not, then you're breaching some of the things, the policies that you have agreed to uphold. So everybody is expected to do that. In fact, when we build cases, the cases that we build they go across the disciplines. Because we teach in an integrated manner. So we're teaching cardiovascular system, he's doing heart anatomy, she's doing, you understand? So our cases we can use across the disciplines, and we can also use in later years. So it's a lot of effort, I agree with Professor Kadiri. It's a lot of effort, but it's yielding. We can see it in the students that we teach. And manual for active learning in physiology. Oh, Susan Ray left the room, but I'm sure Mama will tell her. We need a manual for active learning in physiology. We have a lot of medical educators in physiology. I'm sure if this is not already existing, it's something that can be done. Yes?
Yeah, so what Sue Ray told me to say was we'll look into it, because if there's somebody that might...
The resting conditions, the influence of the sympathetic nervous system, at least in the anesthetized animal, is limited. Yeah? And in addition to this, if you have then want to induce a further vasodilation, there is no way just to block or to run the sympathicostole. You need these local vasodilators. And to clarify, we never use sympathetic inhibitors. It was only in that study where they wanted to show the contribution. Of course, narcosis can always, anesthesia can always affect it to some extent, but we are working in the intact system. Okay?
Thank you. I know some people still have questions, still have some things, but I will advise that we do that during lunch. You can see any of them and discuss about it. And now we will go for lunch, and because of time, I'm requesting you that we take only 30 minutes.
Enjoy our taste.
Yes.
Just spray your mouth with that something to do. Just spray.
So we'll be back. Before we go, I have just two announcements. Thank you very much. Can we put our hands together for our presenters? Okay, now we can. I have just two announcements. One, there are some people who have requested for post-conference tour registration. You can go outside, there's somebody there, so he will ask you, you can register. If you have any questions about the price, about where and everything, you can talk to that person. Also, there are some who went to that tour yesterday and they have not paid, and it's outside there, you can do the payment as well. But can we take just 30 minutes for lunch and come back here around at 2?